Okay, guys, welcome back. It's Damon again, Mr. Foxy. I'm here with Eric Smith, industrial monopoly player, right? But no, really, you're a real estate broker here in Southern California, Orange County, and you're just, you know, you got it dialed in. You talked about mentorship, how important that is, but I feel like there's more to it, right? Because we've talked in person, right? It's the monopoly part of it, but also what playing the game will allow someone in real estate to do, not just in industrial real estate, but in residential too. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah. Well, we're talking about monopoly. And the nugget I want to give you about that is that you're really figuring out the rules of the game. And one of the rules of the game, this is the nugget I'm giving you, that I figured out was how to create wealth. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the wealthiest person. I have just seen enough people do it that I feel like I've distilled the algorithm
Sure.
to do that. And it's simple, and I'm going to tell you because it's so obvious that so many people forget it. But to build wealth, you're going to build a business and buy assets. And that's it.
Boom.
It's really cool for me in my profession because I get to see people build a business and use that business to buy an asset, which is very powerful. But just building a business and buying the asset. And
So give me an example, right? Go ahead.
The example is what you and I are doing. We do different things to earn income in real estate. For me, I sell and lease industrial buildings. For you, your business is something else. But that's your business.
Correct.
And you need to take the income that you earn from that and buy an asset. Income producing house, an income producing warehouse, whatever it may be.
Sure.
I know that sounds obvious, but as a real estate, let's call us real estate operators, we get so transfixed by our business that we forget to do that.
Amen.
And we're part of a group where there is some very high level operators.
Sure.
And we heard the highest level operator in the room ask, what's the biggest mistake that you made? And they said, we forgot to buy real estate.
Yeah. Nugget, right?
Nugget
drop.
That even the big boys that are doing deals on a totally different level on it than us forget to buy real estate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how wealth is built. I mean, we could distill it down, and I could break it down to some significant tax advantages for us to buy real estate, specifically for me and maybe for you to buy real estate. I mean, there's the obvious things of depreciation, appreciation, cash flow, building equity or mortgage pay down.
Sure.
Those are like the four core items
Right.
that drive this, that build wealth, and that's all great. But there's more. And so I'll give you an example.
I feel like it's in an infomercial. But wait,
there's more. For 3 easy payments.
give it to us. I'm in suspense over here.
And let me back up because all of this dovetails for me. Like I said, I'm not smart. I have to look at people and see what they're doing
Sure.
to understand it. And I told you there's this number one guy in our office who was just crushing it, rainmaker, making crazy money. I know he's got a big portfolio. And I hear him say one day, and he goes to another person in our office and say, I got a lot of friends that aren't paying taxes. How do I do that? It was a little baffling to hear that A, people weren't paying taxes.
Right.
And then B, that he hadn't figured it out. And I was like, how come
This
Mr.
guy.
Rainmaker
Yeah.
hasn't figured it out?
Right.
And so doing what I do, which is like, okay, well, let me go educate, research. I got on Google, how can I not pay taxes, all this stuff.
Right.
I join masterminds. I find out what I believe is the ticket that he's talking about. Now, everybody, the most often looked over thing in real estate is depreciation.
Amen.
And I suspect if you played your business correctly, you could probably do this too. And I don't want to discuss our personal tax situations.
Yeah.
But if you bought enough property and you were able to depreciate it, you could create a loss. And there's techniques that you could get a larger chunk of depreciation up front.
Yep.
Accelerated depreciation via cost segregation.
Yep.
So if you can buy enough real estate, create enough loss, and a loss is a paper loss. It doesn't mean that you're actually losing
money.
It's just
right?
you're losing money on paper. Now, depending on the business that you operate, there are certain exceptions within the tax code where you could use that loss against what you're actively earning in your business, which is something that technically not a lot of people can do. But if you're actively involved in real estate and meet certain criteria, which we won't go into because that's too complicated, I could take a passive loss. Now, let me back up. Passive loss goes against passive income. But what I'm suggesting is taking a passive loss against active income. And that's exceptionally powerful to earn money, not pay taxes, and then go buy real estate with it. And then when you buy that real estate, you get your cash flow, you get your appreciation, you get your equity build up, you get, all those other things.
So if I can just boil it down for someone that might be hearing this for the first time, it sounds like, and I understand the theory, but I want to make sure nobody steps over this because this is what we would call nugget time, right? What you're saying is what real estate affords you is the opportunity to take these things that will make you money and will appreciate in value, but also right now with other income that you're making elsewhere, if you play your cards right and structure it right, you can take some of those losses, those expenses, whatever you want to call them, and offset some of that income so it lowers your tax. Is that what we're saying?
That is exactly correct.
Okay. If Scrooge McDuck was here right now, DuckTales, he would be dancing around in his money bin. I'm pretty sure he would be diving in, swimming around, and he'd be coming out because he was paid. Let's face it, he had a lot of money, right? But like, and I can't think of any other business off the top of my head. And yeah, I'm a little biased, but I can't think of any other business other than real estate that allows you to do that.
There's not. There's some other synergies in oil and gas.
Yep.
But that's a whole different conversation. I am not an expert. But to just point blank, you're absolutely right, Damon. There's no other business. So, and that was what I got from you, just the mindset. What other business besides the one that we're in do we get the opportunity to do this?
Yeah.
That provides a lot of sense, a lot of peace for me.
For sure. Especially when, and I don't know about you, growing up, I always looked at someone like, I've said this before, aside from your political affiliations and your tendencies, okay? Donald Trump, okay? And at the time when I was growing up in the 80s, I lived in New York City. Donald Trump was a big deal. I mean, he was kind of in his rise, and he was everywhere on TV. And I did not know anything about Donald Trump. I didn't know anything about his personality. I didn't know anything about his personal life. All I knew is that guy was in the news for what? Real estate. And anytime you heard about anything happening big in New York City around real estate at that time, it was him. And I thought to myself, how cool is that this little game that we play, right? That we can, feel like we're on top of the world for a little bit, and how it plays out in the real world. There's a lot of synergies. Right? Yep. A lot of similarities. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever, man.
Yeah. Well, and again, not getting political, but, a lot of people wanted to see his tax returns. He didn't want to provide them. We all know why he didn't want to provide them, because he didn't pay a lot of taxes.
No paying tax.
And the way that people thought that was wrong, or he was committing fraud, or whatever it was.
Right.
That wasn't the case. He had mastered the tax code. He had mastered real estate. And thereby, he didn't have the obligation to pay the tax. Whether he did or whether he didn't, it's not up to me. But
we didn't see the tax returns. Yeah,
we didn't see the tax returns. But I'm just speculating that it was because he didn't pay a lot of taxes. But you and I are no different than him in that sense. The same rules that govern him govern us. Mm-hmm. And it behooves us to learn what those rules are.
Right.
Learn what the rules of monopoly are. And they're not apparent. There's not a set of rules. And that goes back to mentorship. A mentor is the person who's giving you the rules that you didn't know existed. Mm-hmm. And then once you get them, you go play.
I love it, man. And you're right. I want to play the game that, that's available to me. I did not get into, I played basketball growing up my whole life. I never stepped on the court and said, you know what? I just want to get the rules that are only applicable to me. I want the calls that the big guys getting too. But yeah, you're right. There's levels. And I think there's experience. and know-how that's going to govern your success. So I again, nugget alert. I think the other nugget that I'm taking away from all this is like, hey, if you're in this real estate business and you want to get access to what you can really, really do, how you make this car really drive, you got to go to the mentorship. And then also you got to go to, it sounds like good advice around tax planning, because there's no other place where you can get this kind of bang for your buck tax-wise.
Yeah. And the funny part is, one, my accountant is a close friend of mine.
Yeah.
Almost family. So, but what I can tell you, not him, but prior with all the accountants that I've used, is they don't even know the rules to the game that they're playing. When I had to go educate my accountant about cost segregation, accelerated depreciation, what I'm doing, and how to play it, that's kind of a problem too. So if accountants don't know this information, how are you going to learn?
Yeah.
So, I mean, look at it. The accountant doesn't know. The number one broker in my office, who's got a big portfolio, doesn't know this.
Right.
How are we supposed to figure it out? Now, I'm not suggesting anything that's wrong. This is the tax code. This is the way it is. So this is not, and it's not a gray area either. It's funny to the different levels of, well, you're the accountant. I thought you were supposed to know. You're supposed to tell me.
Right.
And here you are teaching them. And you're, in essence, their mentor.
Yeah. That you're paying. So you're paying them for the mentorship. Yeah. Look, man, that was heavy. I don't think I've ever dropped a nugget alert. So I don't drop these nugget alerts likely, and this is the first time they're happening. But man, super powerful and great give. So look, I'd like to just break this out, man. I think we're coming to the end of our time. If we could, let's just take a quick break, and I'm going to jump back in with Eric, and he's going to give us pretty much what I like is just your 3 best takeaways for anyone that's listening here today. So if you just stay tuned, we'll bring Eric back and close this thing out.